What's up, YouTube? What's up, YouTube? It's your boy back with another one. People, in today's video, we are going to discuss a multi layered approach to one topic, right? And I wonder how people are going to react to this one because we are going to look at it in three different ways multi pronged approach. Let me know what you think about this topic in the comment section below. And the topic of the day is was apartheid really bad? Let me know what you think about this topic in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. You know, we family, right? Hello. People, after talking to a few people about this topic, right, I wanted to get different perspectives of different people, their experiences, because I didn't really get to experience apartheid at its height and at its worst or at its best, as some would put it, right? So, this is what I found, and it's intriguing. So, we're going to take it step by step, right? So, let's start with the ones that would say apartheid was good. So, if you lived under apartheid, right? Let's say starting from 1950 onwards, right, to 1990, so to speak, 91, 93, right? If you were white, then apartheid was good to you because they introduced Group Areas Act, they introduced labor laws, they introduced marriage acts, they introduced all these laws that promoted white supremacy. You got to choose fertile land, peaceful land, green land. So jobs were catered for you and all that, right? So apartheid was great if you were white. If you were colored, apartheid wasn't that bad too, from what I'm hearing. Because yes, you were discriminated against, you were removed from these hilltops and these fertile lands and you were put into these dusty townships. But you were not at the bottom of the food chain because you didn't need to carry a dome pass wherever you went. You still were seen as a little bit of a human, even though many would say that was not the case. But some would say it was bad because we were removed from District 6 where we lived. Yeah, the police would come and they'd shoot the political activists and they'd do, all these things. But the biggest gripe that I found out is that it's mainly two things that the colored people suffered, which was the forced removals from District 6 and other surrounding areas where they used to live into the townships like Bontierville, Mitchell's Plain, Netrech, and all those places. And the police violence, political violence that occurred in the townships. Those are like the two biggest things, right? That colored people will always talk about. When you speak to black people, Man, they paint a horrific picture that they were treated like less than human because the white people saw the black people as the biggest threat. So their experience of apartheid is far more different and far more removed from what the colored people had experienced. Now, as usual, I don't talk about the Indians because I haven't been exposed to Indian culture. I mean, I need to research, I need to learn more about the endangered Indians in Durban and how they were treated during apartheid and how they live currently. And I'm still delving into that. I've been looking at a few videos and documentaries, but I don't want to really comment on something that I have no knowledge about when it comes to the Indian treatment during apartheid, right? So those are the three dynamics that I got, right? So the white people had it good, the colored people had it easier, the black people had it rough. Because the black people, they had to carry a dome pass as long as you're over the age of 16, because there you were considered a military threat to the state. Now, it got me thinking. All this time when I'm jumping on this bandwagon, people are saying, no, apartheid was better. And I'm thinking to myself, apartheid was better because the economy worked, things were cheaper, everything ran smoothly like a well oiled machine. I mean, South Africa was actually a first world country in a third world continent or on a third world continent. And that was an amazing thing. But if you are black and you are being subjected to inhumane treatment, would you see, would you feel, would you appreciate this first world status if you are not really meant to enjoy to the fullest, like the other race groups are getting to enjoy? Now, from a color perspective, I can understand when they say, no, apartheid was better because this, that, and the other. Because they didn't get to feel the full might of apartheid like the black people did. Now that's not to say the colored people didn't suffer too. No, no, no. Let's not get that wrong. You know what I mean? They suffered too because there were colored people that were targets of the state because they too were seen as the enemy. And there is proof of that because they too fought in the struggle. But the state regarded the colored as less of a threat. And therefore, the colored people had a little bit more leeway as compared to the black people. So we need to be careful when we talk and when we say apartheid was better or apartheid wasn't that bad because we need to understand from whose perspective we are talking from and whose viewpoint we are looking through and whose lens we are viewing from. Now, true, it's only obvious that if a system favors you, you will be all for that system. You wouldn't see fault in it, although you may feel guilt at some point of what the government of the day is doing. But at no point would you feel an obligation to give up your comfort to accommodate the oppressed. And that is why, from most white people, the sentiment is always apartheid was better, or apartheid wasn't that bad, or apartheid wasn't bad at all, because they talking from a point of comfort. When the colored people speak, they're speaking from a point more of service delivery and job security, job availabilities, and goods and services being readily available. For the colored people, it was bad, but as long as they had jobs, they had employment, they had money, they had food, they had everything, life was affordable, life was cheap, life was this, then it was totally fine. And then there was the political aspect of it too. So those that decided to fight in the struggle, those had it rough. They had it bad because they had to run undercover. They had to basically run from the law. And then those ones were treated like the enemy of the state, of which they were basically, right? The black people, on the other hand, they don't see it from the same lens because they got it the worst. They had it the worst. Now, I'm trying to find people that actually bore the brunt. Like, I'm actually I'm trying to find like people that were in the struggle but are not mainstream to give me an actual day to day, everyday kind of feeling what apartheid was like, for an ordinary activist. And well, the people I spoke to said it was bad. It was really bad to a point where police would come in at any time of the night, destabilize, wake you up, put dogs on you. And I was like, if only we all looked through apartheid through one lens, we would better understand the effects of apartheid. Because today we're saying we are South Africa, we are one. But how can we be one if we have different experiences instead of having one experience that we can all talk about from like today's South Africa? Today's South Africa, we can talk about the poverty. We can talk about the inequality. We can talk about the race-based laws. We can talk about the reverse apartheid. We can talk about BEE. We can talk about the corruption. We can talk about because this is all our shared and lived experiences all at the same time, and we're living it in real time. And it's in full view of everyone to see worldwide, not just us, right? Whereas apartheid was, for the most part, I think it was almost hidden from mainstream media and from the broader international audiences, right? Almost like what's happening in the Gaza Strip, right? Which brings me to the second prong. Remember, I said there's going to be a three prong, right? So that's the viewpoint of apartheid from the three different race groups, right? Then we talk about the generations that were denied access, denied opportunities, denied that, right? You couldn't get these jobs, you couldn't get that, right? It stunted, it restricted their growth, it restricted their prosperity, it restricted them from succeeding, it restricted them from creating generational wealth, it restricted them from doing many things that they could have done, but they couldn't have because they were not allowed into certain spaces. So that's another aspect that we also need to look at. Which apartheid robbed a whole generation or two of potential wealth creation, right? And that part cannot be overlooked because so many people are suffering today simply because their forefathers or their grandfathers and their fathers didn't get the opportunity that they could have gotten if the laws that were imposed on them were not as restrictive as they were. And that's the second part that we also need to acknowledge that there are people who would have succeeded if given the opportunity, but unfortunately they couldn't. And then we also need to look at the fact that there are people who succeeded because of the rules, and today they're enjoying those rewards because of those laws that were put into place. And that also needs to be acknowledged, right? That's the second part. Then the third part, we're looking at the now generation. the people that were at least 16, 17, 18, or 18. If you were born, basically, if you were born in 1974, you would be 20 in 1994. So if you were born in 76, it means you'd have been 18 in 94. So that means you were relatively young during apartheid times, right? Apartheid couldn't have affected you directly, like it stunted your growth. I mean, it prevented you from succeeding. I mean, you may have gone to these poor schools, you may have been restricted to certain areas, but from an earning point of view, like a financial point of view, you couldn't have said anything that stopped you because you were too young to be earning, right? Although, possibly, there could have possibly been, but I doubt if there was any real child stars at the time. But even if they were, I don't think they were really paying that much money on like TV shows, right? But then you get people like Chico Twala, Brenda Fassie, and a few musicians, soccer players who pulled through during apartheid. We actually made a living, like your Kaiser Motowns, people that actually made through it, right? That you could actually look at and say like they did it through apartheid. So there's no excuse for that, right? But the few that did make it out, the few that did create wealth during apartheid, wow, you know, you have to give kudos to them and then ask why the rest didn't see it. So that's another thing. The third aspect that we're talking about now is the generation that were too young, weren't even born. They were too young to experience apartheid, to talk about it. They were too young to even start earning money from it. And then there's the ones that weren't even born that still blame apartheid for it. And these are the people that I want to speak about in the third part because if you were not able to work, if you didn't go through if you were not restricted, if you were not even born, if you were too young to understand what apartheid was, how is it restricting you today? I mean, if you were not born in 94, how can you blame apartheid now? If you were 10 in 94, if you were 5 in 94, how can you blame apartheid today? So, like I said, it's a three-pronged approach, right? And the last batch of people that want to blame apartheid for their lack, their laziness, their entitlement, and their whatever reasons they have, I think it's just ingenious because at the end of the day, you are blaming a system that you have no um, affiliation to. It's the older generation that went through it, not you. They can have a say and say, I wanted to be this, but the government restricted me from doing it. So I couldn't do that. You understand? But even if you were born during apartheid, people like Brenda Fassie, Chico Twala, Bongani Ngema, who else? All these black heroes and black celebrities that were able to break through. Would you have been in those things? If not, why are you even talking? Why even complaining about it? Because if in a free South Africa now you are not doing anything to break into those same industries that you are claiming apartheid restricted your parents from doing, what are the chances that you would have been doing it in an oppressive regime if you can't do it in a free regime? That's my whole point. So, like I said, this video is a three-pronged approach, right? So we spoke about the people that loved apartheid, that said it was great for them, the people that didn't like apartheid at all, it was very bad for them. And now we're talking about people who are blaming apartheid, even though they never went through it themselves. So, people, with all these different three-pronged approaches that we have, now we have a clearer picture of what the different sectors of our society has been through in a system. At what point do we now say we now stop blaming apartheid? We have to now start blaming our current government and ourselves. Last point I'd like to make is the issue will always be the land. And I get it. It will always be the land. Give the land back and that will cool. Cool. Give the land back to who? Okay, let's say we give you land. What are you going to do with the land? History shows. Go to Zimbabwe. They got the land back. Entirely, all of it. They got it back. What did they do with it? Go to Nigeria. They got the land back. All of it. What's happening in Nigeria? Kenya, you name it. Zambia, Malawi, you all these African countries. They got their land back. All of it. They got it back. Are they still as progressive as South Africa is? No. So cut, let's not spite our faces by cutting off our noses. How does it go? Let us not cut our noses to spite our faces. Let us not jump on a bandwagon just because there's a certain group or a certain element that wants to benefit from doing something. And by getting numbers to jump on board, they get to pursue and achieve this agenda that does not benefit the entire nation. Let's stop thinking about ourselves first. Let's stop thinking about the nation. Let us start thinking broadly. Let us think about South Africa now, because as we speak now, South Africa is broken. South Africa is broken, not breaking, broken. Systems that used to work are no longer functioning. Things that used to work are no longer functioning, and we see it in real time. So instead of thinking individually and what's best for me, how about let's start thinking about what's best for the country? Yes, I need to survive. Yes, I need to work. Let me try and create an honest living. Let me try and do this. But in the meantime, what is it that we can all do to put the country first and to get our systems working again so that the next generation after this does not have to go through a broken system after broken system after broken system? Because at the end of the day, we only have our one country and we don't have any other country to go to. This is the only land that we have. So if we are all united and we can all pull together in our all different ways, we can all make South Africa work again. I do not I do not care if we have to bring apartheid back just so that South Africa gets to work. Because the one thing that I know is like we'll say bringing apartheid back, it's not going to come back in its original form. That is totally impossible. That will be totally impossible. Totally impossible. There's no way apartheid can come back. There's just no way. Not with the new dispensation and the new. There's just no way, right? So, but on that one point, those that say they want apartheid to come back, it's only obvious it's those that benefited fully from the system, right? Other than that, nobody wants apartheid to come back, you know. But like I say, if it means that we have to get South Africa back to its former glory, and if it means bringing apartheid back in a new format, then so be it. If that's what it takes to get South Africa back on the map. I'm not saying bring apartheid back just because of the fun of it, that we liked the way we were being treated or the people were being treated or the. No. I am saying from a systematic point of view, from an economical development point of view, from a reindustrialization point of view. If that's what it takes, then let's do that. But let's not jump on this bandwagon of let's get the land, let's take the land, and then we give you the land, and all of a sudden you're only planting 3 rows of maize because that's all you can do with your plow and your hoe. No, that's not how it works. So let me know what you think about this video in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. You know we family, right? Holler.